Meanwhile, new this morning, an iPhone becomes Exhibit A in a lawsuit against the TSA. A man claims that agents harassed him while they held him at the airport for carrying too much money, even though that's not a crime. Homeland Security correspondent Gene Meserve picks it up from there live in Washington. So what was going on, Gene?
Well, Karen, the American Civil Liberties Union is suing the Secretary of Homeland Security over what it calls unlawful searches and detentions at airports. The potential evidence, as you say, an audio recording of TSA screeners.
This iPhone captured the conversation between a Transportation Security Administration agent and a passenger.
I'm just trying to ask some questions to figure out what all this is about so I can get you on your plane. But you won't play smartass, and I'm not going to play your game.
The agent was talking to Steve Bierfeld. He works for the Campaign for Liberty, an outgrowth of the Ron Paul presidential campaign, which promotes constitutional rights. Bierfeld was flying out of St. Louis when screeners saw this cash box in his carry-on. At the time, it contained about $4,700, proceeds from the sale of political items. Although there are no restrictions on carrying large sums of money on flights within the U.S., the TSA detained Bierfeld and, along with other law enforcement agencies, questioned him for almost half an hour and appeared to threaten him with arrest. Unaware, the phone in Bierfeld's pocket was capturing every word.
The question is, why do you have this money? That's the question. That's the major question.
Yes, sir. And I'm asking if I'm legally required to answer that question.
Answer that question first. Why do you have this money?
Am I legally required to answer the question?
So you refuse to answer the question?
No, sir, I'm not refusing.
Well, you're not answering.
I'm simply asking my rights under the law. Swearing at me, cursing at me, threatening to handcuff me, take me to the DEA and the FBI, just the inconvenience. No, it's not within the bounds at all.
The TSA says an agent has been disciplined for using inappropriate tone and language, but said in a statement, a passenger who refuses to answer questions may be referred to appropriate authorities for further inquiry. The ACLU says Bierfeld did not refuse to answer questions, and his detention and questioning violated constitutional protections against unlawful search.
TSA believes its passenger screening is an opportunity to engage in freewheeling law enforcement investigations that have no link to protecting flight safety.
The ACLU and Bierfeld believe this incident is reflective of a much larger problem, but this passenger just happened to be carrying a pocket copy of the U.S. Constitution and the latest technology.
Yeah, I just happened to be working with Ron Paul, who's, one of the most libertarian congressmen out there. So
yeah, they could not have picked a worse person to stop.
Now, did he know the iPhone? He hit record on it, or was it inadvertent? When you said they didn't know.
He did this. He said he'd only recently put this record application on the iPhone, but when they took him away from the screening checkpoint into a separate room, he decided, this could be interesting. He activated it. So he was well aware that this was all being recorded. And if you listen to the whole tape, he's extraordinarily calm and polite through the entire thing.
He is, but there's no question that he was messing with them.
Well, I asked him that. And he says no. What he really wanted to do was go on his way. What he really wanted to do was get on his flight. But
if he wanted to get on his flight, he would have said, you know what? I got all this cash because I was selling T-shirts and buttons for Ron Paul.
Well, he felt
he didn't point to.
He felt he didn't have to answer that question for them, that there was no right for them to ask him that question. And I might say eventually an agent comes in who figures it out. He looks more closely at the cash box. He sees there are checks in there written out to the Campaign for Liberty. He looks at the literature. He says, these are political contributions. Bierfeld says yes. The guy says, you're free to go. But it took a half an hour for somebody to do that.
So in other words, he was messing with the first guy, right?
Well, I think there was a little messing going both ways.
Yeah, I think so.
We're recording all of this, Gene. I just want you to know.
Thanks,
very interesting story.
It's a prerequisite, too, for all Ron Paul supporters to carry a copy of the Constitution in their pockets. Yeah. Ron Paul is such a great friend of the show. He had no shortage of great stories when it comes to Ron Paul.